We're back here this evening praying that you had a wonderful Sunday and you got a snippet of the interview with our Chief Ramos this morning during our service. Well, now you can tune in and hear the entire interview and you don't want to miss it. So call a friend and let them know that we have one of our women who's making history in DeKalb County, Chief Ramos, and her full interview.
Well, this is National Women's Month, and here at the park, we want to celebrate, some women in our community, some women who are doing phenomenal things, and we are honored today. We are very honored to have our very own Chief Ramos here with us today, and so she's going to share with us, and so we're going to get to know her better, and I hope that this will be an inspiration, not just to young females and ladies as well, but men and just people in general. So, how you doing? Why don't you tell the people who you are?
So my name is Mirtha Ramos. I'm the Chief of Police of the DeKalb County Police Department. My mother, a daughter, an aunt, a grandmother. So I'm all of that.
Awesome. So this has been a trying week for you. An exciting week. Well, I wouldn't say exciting, but why don't you tell us about your week this week?
Well, it's been a busy week. It's always a busy week, but this one has kind of touched on my heartstrings a bit because we've been dealing for the last 2 days with an incident involving a child, an infant, who was taken away from the arms of its mother. And so for 2 days, we've been dealing with that, but for all of yesterday, from 2 in the morning to about 2 in the afternoon, we didn't know the whereabouts of that child. And so it took a lot of effort on a lot of people's behalf, a lot of investigative efforts, a lot of walking the ground and searching and calling and just a lot of work to try to find that baby home. So when we finally got the call that the baby had been located, it really brightened my day. And the other 12 hours of weariness and work just kind of went away and made it all worth it.
Awesome. And you guys did a phenomenal job. And so, DeKalb County is really fortunate to have such awesome leadership and that you're providing, for our county. And so what made you get into law enforcement? Like when you got into law enforcement, what really made you get into it?
Growing up, I grew up in Philadelphia, and I saw a lot of things that I didn't like. I was surrounded by drugs, prostitution, also the way police treated the people in my community. And so I wanted to make a difference. I had my child early in age, so I decided I wasn't going to follow that dream because I wanted a safe job. But I couldn't hold it back any longer, and about 5 years later, I decided I still wanted to be a police officer, so I went for it. I realized I could do both.
Okay. So did anyone in particular inspire you? Were there any role models or women in police in Philadelphia that inspired you?
Unfortunately, the answer is no, but that in itself was the inspiration. The fact that I didn't have that support and that someone to look up to just made me fight a little harder.
Okay, and so as you were matriculating, how did you balance being a police officer and a mother?
Very hard. It was very difficult, and I don't think it was until recently that my 2 sons actually understood all of the sacrifices. It was hard, you can't always be home on Christmas morning. Sometimes you're taking care of other people's family problems when you have your own. So it's very difficult to find that balance. And when I finally was chosen to be the chief of the DeKalb County Police Department, and they found out just through word of mouth all the things that I've done and I've accomplished, they said, "Mom, we understand why you did what you did." And so it took a long time for them to understand it, but I think we're finally there.
Awesome. It's something that I often say here. They read your bio. Sometimes the people closest to us, they really don't read our bio to see all the different things that we've gone through. So tell me about the transition from Philadelphia to Miami.
That was very risky. I came to Miami not knowing anyone. So I did have a job. My job from Philadelphia had transferred over to Miami. I decided to take a leap of faith. I put our clothes in the trunk of the car. I got in, didn't know where I was going to live, didn't know anyone, and I ended up in Miami.
So your children traveled with you.
Yes.
From Philadelphia to Miami, and so they were young kids. And so, all right, let's pause for just a second. What word would you say to a single mother right now? encourage a single mother, because this is an encouraging story just about a mother taking her children, being a police officer, and going to an unknown. So you're pretty courageous.
Oh, I don't know if courageous would be the word. I would say that I did not want my children being raised in the environment that I was. Instead of saying I could not do any better, that's all I knew that I had to do better. And I wanted better for my kids, so I wanted to take them out of the environment that I was in.
Okay. How challenging was it then being a female, and how challenging is it now being a female? And we'll get to being a female at the top of the food chain.
Okay, I think it's less challenging, but still challenging. We still have a lot of challenges in this world. So, we have racial, we have gender, we have all these other things. I don't think we've conquered the gender discrimination as of yet. You always still have that challenge where you have to prove yourself twice as hard to know that you can do the job. I know there are many people who thought I got this very job just simply because I was a woman. But I'm also confident in knowing that it didn't take them long to realize for them to know that I can do this job, I am doing this job, and I'm good at what I do. So I think when you have that behind you, I think being a woman kind of comes in secondary sometimes, even though people can't get past it when they first meet you.
Now I read your resume, and so you have a master's degree in psychology.
Yes.
From Penn State?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so education is important for you.
It is.
And also graduated from FBI school.
Yes, sir.
And so what would you say inspired you not only to be a police officer, but to also hold education very high? And so you're a multitasker.
I tend to do what I need to do to be okay. And what I say by that is, I've lacked mentorship in my life, unfortunately. So I've mentored myself. So there were people who didn't want to help me, so I helped myself. And how do you help yourself? By challenging yourself to do better, be better, know more, and do more. And so I'm no holds barred, no excuses. If I don't know something, I'm going to learn about it. If I need to do more, I'll do more. Where people may say, why psychology? Well, that was psychology and leadership, because even though I was already high ranking at the time, I wanted to be able to be better so that I can be a better leader for the people that I work with. It's not really about me, it's about the people that you lead. And if you don't know about them and how to treat them and how to do better, then you're not going to be good at your job. And so that really was just part of my training.
So that brings me to this question. If you had to describe yourself with one word, just one word, what would that one word be?
It's tough, but I guess I would say hardworking.
Okay.
Stubborn. I could give you a few, and they probably would be different than what other people would say. And I guess because what I find as important, I guess most people may take for granted. So when I say hardworking, is because I always give my all, 110%, and to me that's very important.
So what would you say to a teenager that's inspiring to expiring?
I think for anyone, I think that you can do whatever you set your mind to. It doesn't matter if you don't have anyone supporting you. It doesn't matter if you don't think you can do it. If you think you can do it and you're willing to do whatever you need to do to get it done, I'm confident you can accomplish anything. Our biggest enemy is ourselves. We are the ones that create and put the limitations within ourselves. You keep moving forward. Maybe you're not moving as fast as you want to, but I guarantee you if you keep moving, you're going to get further than someone who's not doing anything at all.
So that leads me to, what was your most disappointing moment in your matriculation? What was a very low point in your career that you overcame, obviously, because you're here today?
I got to kind of think about that, because I also have a philosophy, nothing keeps me down for long.
So what kept you down for 2 seconds?
Okay, so one of the biggest things that I guess one of my more recent disappointments was before I applied for this position. They moved me from an assignment that was very close to my heart. So I had a youth mentoring group that I worked with, which was called the Youth Outreach Unit. I was embedded in the community. I was involved. I was doing mentorship off duty, on duty. I had a group where I would bring people in to talk about mental health and finances and how to take care of yourself while taking care of others. So I was doing so much more than policing. And it really warmed my heart because I did policing, but I was also doing things to touch the employees and just touch the community. And people were uncomfortable with how that made them feel, so then I was moved into a position that did not allow me to have that same level of exposure to the community. And that made me unhappy, but then I realized that, okay, you don't give me the opportunity, but I'm gonna create my own opportunity. So I started to take those programs outside of the department. So I started mentoring people outside of the department. So I started dealing with people, let's say we would go to a restaurant and have brunch, but it wasn't just brunch. I'd bring somebody in to talk to them, to mentor them, to talk to them. It's about educating people and making them feel less alone, making them feel like maybe you don't know what you need to do, but let me help you. Let me bring somebody who can help you. So I'm always about service.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I guess that disappointment, it moved you to another department, it moved you to another assignment. So how was the move from Miami to DeKalb? How was that transition?
The transition was actually not too bad. And I will say that I think the transition that brought me into that new assignment is what eventually brought me to DeKalb County. Had I not been moved to that position, I would have never left, because I was very happy, I was content, I was satisfied. And sometimes us being satisfied with what we have limits us from reaching even further. So coming to DeKalb County, it was very welcoming. The community was very embracing. Coming here and finding out that we have so many positive leaders, supportive leaders that work together. It was good. It was challenging because I'm learning a new department. I'm learning a new culture. I'm learning, everything is new here. But the one thing that's not new is police work. That's the same everywhere. And my heart is the same. So as long as I can do those two things, I'm good.
Okay. So even now, being the female, chief of police here in DeKalb County, what has been your greatest challenge, and what has given you the most confirmation of greatest satisfaction that all that you've gone through, all the skill set, all what you've worked through has prepared you for this moment? Because you're doing a great job. You really are. And you're very impersonable, and you have good interpersonal skills and good managerial skills. So, but all of that, what has been your greatest challenge, and what does the future looks like for DeKalb County under your leadership?
So I think my biggest challenge was probably more internal than external. You have someone coming from the outside who doesn't know the department, doesn't know its culture, so people don't know what is her agenda. Is she going to be able to take us to another level? Is she even here for the right reasons? So I think people don't realize that it's challenging internally. And sometimes you have to take care of your own before you can take care of others. So my job for the last year has been just letting people know a little bit more about me in the sense of what I stand for, what my goals are, and what I see. But not just that, listening to what they want and how do I incorporate that with the mission of making the DeKalb County Police Department not better, but just more transparent, and so that the community can feel like they're part of law enforcement. We're not separate. We're really in this together.
Okay. Now let me ask a couple of more questions.
Okay.
With all of the racial tension and all of the police situations that's been going on around our world, what would you say to an African American male that's 18 to 30 years old, when they encounter the police? What advice, as a mother and as a police officer and as a chief of police, what advice would you give that African American young man?
I would tell them the same thing that I tell my own two boys and that I've been telling them is, I understand that the ego gets in the way. I understand that the officer may treat you in a way that you think is unfair or disrespectful, and I understand that, and I'm not going to support and say that's okay. But what I need for you is to get home. So do what you need to do, comply with the orders, take the person's name and badge number down. That's why we all have name tags and badges. Take it down, and we will deal with it tomorrow, because I need you to come home. I can fix it, but I don't want to fix it if you're not here, because that's not going to bring you back to me. So that's an uncomfortable situation to have with two boys. And my older son's a little stubborn. So, they really don't like that authority figure telling them what to do when they're not doing anything wrong. So I really have to work on them, because my biggest fear is that they will have an encounter and something bad will happen, because they're not immune to it. I'm not immune to it. I don't wear this uniform when I get off of work. I'm just like everybody else. And so when they see me, they see a black woman. They don't see a black police chief. So we all have to endure it. We don't live and breathe these uniforms. We can take it off, but we don't take our skin off. So the color of my skin stays with me all day, every day.
And have you ever experienced going to the grocery store without your police uniform on, just being a black mother, black woman at the grocery store, getting in your car, going to the park, or just relaxing? Have you had any encounters with the police before they knew that you were actually police?
Yes. I have not had that happen here, but I had it happen in Miami. And the officer was very rude. And I took the advice, even though it was difficult, that I give my own son. I paid attention because my old department was pretty large, so there were people who didn't know each other. But I knew this person. He was wearing the same uniform that I was about to go home and put on myself. So I dealt with it the way I would, and I spoke to their supervisor and told them what happened. And they eventually were reprimanded because they did something that was inappropriate. And when they saw me, they did not even have the decency to apologize. And so what I did was I kept my eyes open, because as I went up the ranks, I kind of kept an eye on that person, because I wanted to see if they were going to have similar encounters with other people. Because you have to believe where there's smoke, there's fire.
Right. So you've overcome some obstacles. You see it from both points of views. You are a police. You are a mother. You have African-American sons. And so I guess a few more questions I'd like to ask, and that would be, so what advice would you give just to every citizen in DeKalb County? We know there was a shooting, a killing of a pastor this past week. We know that so much goes on. Give us words of, I don't want to say comfort, but as we hear the sirens and things of that nature, what can you say that you're working on as best as you can to help decrease the crime that takes place in our county?
Well, what we're trying to do is trying to increase visibility and interaction with law enforcement. But as it relates to crime, I think one of the sad things to say is that a lot of the crime in DeKalb County is not random. A large majority of our crime are committed by people who know each other. So if we were to, whether it's a robbery, even when it's a homicide, the large percentage of those are not trend related. It's not something that's going on that we can't identify. They generally know each other. It's kind of difficult to stop a crime that happens in the heat of passion, or if you get into an argument, you can't control those. So what we would like to do is, even though any homicide, any robbery was too many for us, we want people to at least feel safe and secure in knowing that we don't have a lot of random crime in DeKalb County. So what I say is exercise patience. Don't engage with people, because now people don't talk, people don't punch, people want to stab and shoot. And so if somebody steps on your shoes in the supermarket, you know what, it's okay, just keep it moving. It's better to be alive and breathing than to be right. And unfortunately, we've had an increase in crime in the interstate highway. And what that is road rage. People just engaging back and forth, tailgating each other. You cut me off, now I feel the need to chase you down just to tell you how bad you are. Let it go. It's just not worth it. So if I say anything is to exercise caution, know that people are under a lot of stress due to unemployment and all the other things that we're going through. So just exercise a little bit more caution and just learn to walk away. I know it's difficult and easier said than done, but sometimes you just walk away.
What is your greatest initiative that you've already started or you hope to start as police chief?
I think the greatest thing that I've done is the community policing unit. So we've created the community policing unit, and they recently got their uniform. So the way you will recognize them is that they are wearing blue polo shirts. They still have the DeKalb County black uniform, but their polo shirts are blue. And the reason I'm happy about that is because of the feedback that I'm getting. They are making great efforts to knock on business doors, on residential doors. If there's a crime in your area, they will eventually show up, not because we're trying to clean it up at the end. We want to make sure that you know that you matter. We understand that something happened in this community that may be unnerving, and we want to make sure that you know that we're here for you. And we want you to put a face with the name. So this unit will go out, they give you their business cards with their names, their phone numbers they want you to call, they want you to interact with them. And what we get from that is a lot of businesses and even homeowners associations that will call them directly. Hey, this happened last night, can you guys swing on by? And they do, because their entire responsibility for the 10 hours of the day is simply to serve the community.
Awesome.
Go around, knock on the business doors, knock on the community doors, go ahead and knock on the faith-based organizations. Let them know you want to be a part of whatever they're doing. They're helping with the food drives once a week. They're doing shoe drives. They're collecting toiletries. They're doing things that the average officer wants to do but doesn't have the time to do. So we've just been able to increase that, so now we have 2 units, one for the South End and one for the North End. And I'm hoping that with time we can increase it, but we don't want to take away from the security of our officers by giving them less staffing on the road. But so we're doing 2 instead of the 4, just to make sure that we maximize our efforts with them. But I'm very proud of that because I'm getting a lot of good feedback from what they're doing out there and the people they're touching.
Awesome. That's good. Before I let you go, how would you say your faith, has helped you and sustained you on your journey?
That's a tough question, and I'm going to be, and I should be a little embarrassed to say what I'm going to say, but I'm not. So I believe in being honest and transparent, so I'll continue. So it's been about, maybe I'm not a very religious person, in the sense of I'm not that person that was raised in the church. I don't go to church. About 3 years ago, for some reason, a friend that I had just met said, I'm going to gift you something. And I was kind of excited. I didn't know what it was. And it was a Bible. And I said, oh, that's interesting. And I took it home, put it by my bed, but I didn't open it. Not too short after, a person at my job was retiring, and he said, I'm going to give you something. And it was another Bible.
Okay.
And I didn't know too much about the Bible. And as I said, I don't like not knowing about things. And just seeing them sitting there every day, I started opening it up. And I started reading the Bible for the first time in my life 3 years ago. And I'm about 3/4 of the way through. It's very challenging, but I've learned so much. And I felt my spirituality growing.
Okay.
And growing. And then I found myself actually saying, I have to apologize. I talk a lot to God out loud. I do. And I said, I'm going to have to apologize. All this time, all of these challenges, I kept telling myself, I did it by myself. And I was so wrong, because you were there with me the whole time. Right. And right now, I feel it right now. So I have, like everything else, have taught myself enough in the Bible to realize that he had been with me all along. And so while I'm not that spiritual person that you will see in church every day, I believe in God 100%. I believe he is here with me right now. And I believe he's the reason why I'm in the DeKalb County Police Department right now. This is where I was destined to be. And I believe in the destiny, and I believe that this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Awesome. Well, I have a Bible for you. And I also want you to say that you're welcome to be a member of the park, Rainbow Park Baptist Church, or you could be a friend of the park, and so we would love to journey with you in the sanctification process, which means to become more and more like Jesus to Christ, and to grow your faith. And I love your honesty and your transparency. And so there are multiple reasons why you're probably here in DeKalb County. And so, but that's great. I'm glad that you came to that realization that it was God all along, and that we do nothing, by ourselves. And all things work together for the good, for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. That's awesome. That's awesome. So before we end, you have any questions that you may want to ask, or you have one parting word that you want to share with us about DeKalb County, or about your job, or about just encouraging women out there who are struggling, single moms who are struggling, or just people who are struggling with their faith and now on a journey. And I love, we're going to talk afterwards about that, because I think that's pretty powerful.
Well, I think first I'm going to address DeKalb County. And the one thing I would like for people to know about the police department and about myself is that we're just humans. We're people who have chosen to serve our community, so we put this uniform on. And I believe that 98% of the department is in this 100% just to service the community. if we make a mistake, we're going to be honest about it, we're going to address it, and we're going to move forward. Because I'm not going to say that we won't make a mistake, but I will tell you it won't be intentional, and if it is, it won't be tolerated. So I just want the community to believe in what we're doing, believe that we're here for the truth, for service, and we won't tolerate anything different. As far as just the community as a whole, or just people, I will always say that if I can do it, I think anybody can do it. And that's a plus and a negative, because I think sometimes I hold other people to my standard, and my standard is, if I was able to struggle and I was able to overcome, I think I need you to do it. Like, I'm very low on excuses. So I always tell people to look within yourself. There's a lot of us who have come up by ourselves. There's a lot of us that for no reason of their own, it's not that, they didn't have a parent, but maybe the parent didn't know any better. Sometimes the parent gives you all that they can give, and it still may not be enough for what you need. And find it within yourself if you can't find it within someone else. But please don't make excuses. Keep moving forward, and there's always somebody that can help you. There's always somebody there to listen. And if not, just look up, open up that Bible, and pray. There's someone always listening.
Have you found a favorite scripture yet? In your Bible? Have you gotten to a part in the Bible that you really, really, really like?
Talking about the one in the lion's den where he came out of it unscathed because of his faith.
Yes,
and then
Daniel.
Yes, and that was powerful to me, because it says no matter who's against you, doesn't matter. You have God, you believe in yourself, you'll be okay.
Now, perfect. Now, when you go home today,
yes,
I want you to read Romans chapter 8.
Okay.
Because there in Romans chapter 8, verse 31, it says, if God be for me, who could be against me? Yes. And there in Romans chapter 8, you're going to find all things work together for the good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So Romans chapter 8 in the New Testament really helps one understand what Christianity is all about. And so here at our church, we're big Romans believers. We love the book of Romans. We studied the book of Romans. But my favorite book of the Bible, the favorite chapter of the Bible, is Romans chapter 8. And it begins with, therefore now there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. And then it talks about being led by the Spirit and things of that nature. And it talks about, it ends with, nothing can separate us from the love of God. And so, and the beautiful part about no matter where and when you pick up with God, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. His grace is so wonderful and so beautiful for us that you're starting right now realizing that all the mentoring and all the help and all the things that you've done and overcome, God was with you all along. Even though life may have seemed like you were in the lion's den, but that tenacity and that perseverance and that ability to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going, that was the Spirit of the Lord, helping you, and his hand was on you all along. So that's pretty awesome. Great.
I like the way you made that sound. Yes.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it, that our life is, it's like putting a puzzle together. They're very different pieces. And so the first person that gave you a Bible, the second person that gave you a Bible, and then we were having this interview and we were talking about the Bible and we're talking about your faith. And I think that the beautiful part is you're so humble. And your humility is so beautiful, because most people who've achieved status that you've achieved would never be that transparent. Never be that transparent.
I've been encouraged that sometimes it's not good, but I just feel in my heart, if it's the truth and I'm not aiming to hurt anyone, I don't understand what's wrong with it. I just want to be transparent. I think it's the only way to be. It's the only way I want to be.
Well, I understand it from both sides.
Yes, I could imagine.
I understand it from both sides. People want certain people to be perfect. They want them to have all aspects of their life, because people, unfortunately, they pretend. I preached a sermon and I was saying that all of us, I'm just going to use an analogy. If you ever hear one of our services, you'll see I try to reach all people. And I said that, all of us are musty. All of us have some must on us, meaning there are some areas in our life that we perspire, more rapidly in, and that perspiration without proper deodorant can cause us to have a smell. And no one is 100%, without some type of area that needs more attention. And some people try to come off as if all areas of their life is all put together, and that's not true. And that what causes people not to be transparent, because people just want to believe because they're not free enough to be open enough to tell the truth. So it's encouraged here because it's never judged, you know. And I think that someone will be blessed out there by that transparency, because there's another chief, there's a principal, there's a CEO, there's a president, you know, there's other successful people out there that's realizing that it's God, you know. And as that story that you were mixing together, you know, Joseph ended up coming out of the pit and becoming the prime minister, you know, of Egypt, you know. And Daniel did come out of the lion's den because of his faith. And also Daniel was a mentor to 3 other young men that were put into a fiery furnace, Meshach, and Abednego. And so therefore their faith was a replica of the faith that Daniel had. And so therefore that mentoring group that you were mentoring, before you got moved out of that, you were showing lots of people work ethic, tenacity, stick to it, pull yourself up, don't make excuses. And so I think that people learn from what they see. They learn from what their experience. And so I thank you for just being the genuine person that you are. And we're blessed to have you here in DeKalb County. And I pray God's choicest blessings upon you, that God continue to elevate you, continue to bless your sons, continue to bless you, and bless our community and all the men and women that you lead. You know, I think they're blessed to have you. And so thank you for I know, for being attentive to the things that we have asked you about. You've been very open and honest and straightforward, and I know that God's going to continue to use you to do great things. And I must put this plug, and I hope you become a friend of the park, at least become a friend of the park at the very least.
I could see that happening. And thank you for having me. I mean, it's an honor to be here. It is.
Well, good. Well, Rainbow Park and family and friends out there, Chief Ramos, an outstanding woman that we're celebrating during National Women's Month. So you be blessed out there and take care.